order of business, as usual, is the pledge of allegiance. Would everybody please join? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll do an agenda review. I think I'm gonna go ahead and make the announcement.
Yes, yeah.
Ed White has resigned from the board.
Oh.
Okay, that's what we were discussing when there, and he has his reasons, and, they are personal. And we're certainly sorry to see him go on that, because, I had a lot of good conversations with Ed. He's real committed to his community. And I'm sorry, real sorry to see him leave. And I think I'm speaking for every member of the board here. The plan right now is that we're going to, it's announced tonight, anybody who's interested in filling the term until town meeting time, can get contact or Brian, or get an email into Brian. The deadline will be the 28th of December. The plan now is to interview the candidates on our first meeting in January and make an appointment then. If you need to understand, that's only till town meeting time. If they want to run, they can run to finish, and because Ed had one more year on his term, and they'd run for that rest of his term, and then they'd have to run again. So anybody that's interested, let Brian know, or and get a
Yeah, we'll get the process.
just a written
Written
letter
letter.
of intent into Brian, and
That comes with a resume.
It can, yeah, yeah. That's right.
so hopefully we'll get some interest, and I think there probably is going to be some interest right now with everything going on. All right, on the agenda review, does any of the members of the board have anything they'd like to add? Ryan, do you have anything?
No, good.
I got a couple things, not big things, but I just wanna, things to make people on the board and everybody else aware. I was invited to the Highgate Selectboard meeting on Thursday night to discuss this police issue. I talked to Bill and Neil last night after the meeting, and of course, obviously, they can't go. And they said, go ahead. And, basically what I'm gonna present to them is the numbers that we're looking at and see what their real interest is. And, what they plan on doing in the future. And we'll just go from there. This is basically a conversation because they're in the same boat most communities are, and, maybe if we can all work together, we might be able to, make something that will affect their tax rate a little bit less, but I don't know. I'm not, I'm just having a discussion with them. We're also gonna meet with, Matt Walker, a representative, and that's scheduled for
14th,
14th.
next Thursday.
What time?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, is what I thought. Now, if you other board members want to come, and I'd like, maybe it's a good thing you do, if you can come. Because the issues that, one of the issues that I'd like to discuss and get more information on is, this legislative approved TIF. And I would, thinking along the lines of trying to get something going in the Southern Growth District. I don't know if it's a viable alternative or not, but we need to go through the legislators now to do it. So having and the other thing that I would like to bring up, and this is why I'm, in fact, I'd like to invite some of the trustees, is maybe the state of Vermont better start helping communities that are willing to provide their own police protection to make it more affordable. Because they can't provide it for us right now. And I'd like to bring that issue up to Matt and, see, I don't know if it'll go anywhere, but something's gotta be done. Because I don't see how the village residents can afford it either, you know, and it's not just the town. Maybe there's some benefit to, pushing to that. Okay, and I think
Okay,
that's
I have
all.
one thing, I sent you an email that I copied.
Yes,
Yep.
that's right, that'll be, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, under other business, and this is just for discussion. In the last couple of months, we made a lot of progress with the Rec Commission Community Center. We identified the building, we know where it's going, and on and on. We might want to discuss the formation of a steering committee that could be made up of a couple of members of the select board, naturally members of the rec committee, and community members at large, and have them just continue to formulate ideas and discussion and report back to the board on a periodic basis. So at some point, we ought to discuss it. I think it's time to turn it over now to a little larger group that can bring, we have a lot of people in our community that has tremendous experience that we might be able to tap into.
Yeah, well, I think that one of the main responsibilities, if we were gonna do that, would be for fundraising. Somebody's gonna have to be in charge of fundraising.
Well, that could be brought to their attention, but anyway, just for discussion, I think it's time now this is a major step for us, and it's time for us to enlarge our focus.
Well, maybe we can fit that in after we go through the rec budget. Okay, now we'll move on to the, did you have anything, Brian, you needed that?
No, no, we're good.
All right,
I have something to add.
okay, oh, yes, you do,
Under
very
any-
important.
Are there any other necessary business, liquor control board?
Okay, you got some licenses?
Just one. Oh, one, two for one person.
All right, so we can move on to the minutes. Does anybody wanna make a motion or have any additions or subtractions to the minutes as in here for November 21st?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All right, the motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Now that we have the public comment part for anything that is not on the agenda.
I just want to take this opportunity to thank Ed White for his service to our community and blessings to him on his next endeavor.
All right, thank you for them comments. Now we'll move on to Rod. Whoops,
Public comment?
yes,
You don't have policing on, right?
no.
Okay, I'd like to take just a couple minutes if I could, and I'll try to be quick. First, I wanna thank you folks for listening last night. Wasn't easy. Really appreciate the village and what they've done. And I appreciate the police chief and all that he's done. And any of my comments are not directed in a negative way toward them, and I just wanna make that very clear. But again, thank you for letting me speak many times last night, which I didn't really expect to be speaking that much. I encourage the board to maybe have a public hearing for the town residents next meeting. Because I think the board should come up with a position of whether or not they're gonna put the 24/7 on the March agenda. Because if you're not, I think it's important for the village residents to hear that, because that's a big impact to them regarding that budget and bond vote that they're gonna take in March. I did not hear a lot of people say we had to have the 24/7 at the meeting. That crowd was not in that position last night. We'd all like it, and I understand that, but there's a budget ramification to it. So I think the board owes it to the town residents and to the village residents on where they stand on this earlier than waiting until March. But that's just my opinion, so I encourage that. And then last night we talked about the regional, which is a great thing to say, very hard to implement. If the town's having concerns about how do we do this for 30 years and commit to 30 years, how's that gonna work on a regional basis? It's very easy for the Vermont State Police, which I respect police, love police, think we need them in all our communities. But it's easy for them to say, we should go to the regional concept. What are they putting into the process? What money, what expertise? We get this building built and we commit to a 24/7. And and the idea that regional's gonna bring it down, who's the person who's gonna take up the time to go to the communities, talk to them, commit to it? Is it the village manager? He's already stated publicly a couple times, he's on a 5-year plan. Time that building's built, he's gonna have about 1.5 years left. Next guy may not be so police savvy, so I just bring that up as some things to think about, if we're really thinking regional might reduce the cost. Because it's very hard to get the community to commit to anything more than 1 year at a time with a budget. So again, thank you for listening to me, but I wanted to share that with the board, because I got thinking about that today after the meeting last night. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, and we haven't stopped thinking about it either.
No, I think we had that conversation on the way and walking into the building.
So now we move on to, anybody else have a public comment? That's not on the agenda. Okay, we'll move on to the Swanton Health Officer's report, and we did have, in our packet, and it was actually emailed to us too. And have you heard anything more about this situation?
No, and as Amber had pointed out in the bottom of her letter, she's out of town for 2 weeks of
Yeah.
December. But I have not heard anything of any of this situation.
Yeah, when I was looking at that, Brian, when she is gone, who takes over for, who is the town?
Well, by the law, you are the chair of the select board, but any calls coming in here, I don't mind doing the legwork and,
Okay.
with your approval.
Okay, well, you haven't heard any more about
No,
this?
I have not heard any more.
Okay. Now we can move on to the chief's report. Try to get you home early.
Good evening. Feeling better?
Not terribly. Okay. So, in looking at the summary for November, officers responded to 54 incidents in the town, there were 14 traffic stops. Out of those 14 traffic stops, 9 tickets were issued, 11 warnings were issued also. There were 5 arrest charges for 3 individuals. And then looking at the top 10 incident types, you have traffic stops as number 1 with 14, property watches 8, 5 suspicious people, 5 directed patrols, 3 search warrants, 2 crash with injury, 2 citizen assists, 2 alarms, and 2 thefts and 2 family fights. And that is the summary for November. Just in to address, partially our meeting last night, I think it was very productive. I think, citizens really came out, which was great to see. And it was a good discussion all around. And we understand that it's a big expense. And unfortunately, in police services, it's we're not in an income generating operation. So it is expensive, and the majority of that expense is benefits and pay for employees. But to answer some of the questions, I mean, Joel's brought it up a couple times, and that how much or how many violent incidents are responded to. So just to give you an overall picture. And I think I did this at the end of 2022 also. I want to say that we responded to 731 incidents in the town. Now keep in mind that doesn't reflect necessarily patrol in the town itself, because that's not always documented, right? The officers are driving around and their radar unit's going, so they're measuring the speed of vehicles that they're encountering while they're on patrol. In 2023 so far, we responded to 832 incidents, so that kind of gives you a very broad picture. In 2022, there were 35 arrests, is what I pulled today, and so far in 2023, there have been 41 arrests coming out of the town.
And this is all in the town.
This is all in the town, right? Isolated the town now. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to try to do a little more digging. I didn't have time to do it today, but I would like to attempt to dig into what Vermont State Police data is for the 2/3 of the time that they're covering the town also. Because that may vary. And I'm not exactly sure how they flag it on their side, even though we're using the same CAD RMS system. We're specifically flagging where incidents occur. And so if they're not doing that, it may be a little more difficult for me to determine exact numbers, but it's something that I want to look into. And overall, I haven't seen, just in looking at the data, looking at aggravated assaults, burglaries, for example, the numbers aren't huge, right, in the town. So aggravated assaults, I found 0 in 2022. And now the data's a little wonky, just so you know. For example, I would prefer to see, and it's something I haven't had time to do, to consolidate incident types. Because, for example, when I was looking at it today, I consider an aggravated assault, right, anything presenting serious bodily injury or death in anything involving a weapon, right? There's specific legal definitions to it. But we also have sub-incident types, aggravated assault with a knife, aggravated assault with a gun, and there were a couple others that might fit into that category. So I think that needs to be consolidated, because I did find one that was flagged as, for example, aggravated assault with a knife, which should just be aggravated assault. But then again, if you want to try to parse out the data and say, well, how many knife attacks were there, then it may be difficult to pull that data out of the system. So it's a little bit wonky as far as getting perfect numbers. Burglaries, there were none in 2022, there were 4 in 23. Robberies, there were 1 in each year, the last 2 years. ODs, I think, are way underreported as far as incident types goes. Just anecdotally, I only found 1 flagged as an overdose in 2022 and 0 in 2023. Simple assaults, 3 in 2022, 2 in 23. Sex assaults, 4 in 22, 1 in 23. Stalking, 2 in 2022, 0 in 23. Thefts are about the same year to year, 11 in 22, 10 in 23. And then I also just looked at death investigations, which again, those numbers aren't entirely accurate. There was only 1 in 22 and 1 in 23, but I'm talking to Sergeant Garnier tonight. You know, he was able to recall off the top of his head a couple others, so it may be because it's not flagged appropriately in the CAD RMS system. But that gives you some idea. So the numbers aren't egregious overall. One thing I would also like to point out is that, for example, I went back and looked at search warrant incidents since 2013 going forward. In 2013, there were 6. In 2014, 5. In 2015, 22. In 2016, 8. In 2017, 1. In 2018, 2. In 2019, 6. In 2020, 9. 2021, 3. In 2022, there were 7. And so far in 2023, 51 search warrant incidents. So
That's all in the town?
that's total, I think.
Total,
Yeah, search
your
warrant
department,
incidents
okay.
for the department,
Okay.
correct. So, but what it's indicative of is casework, right? And so you can see how, I mean, there was that anomalous year in 2015 with 22. And it's not necessarily means individual cases, because sometimes cases will involve multiple search warrants, right? If we're seizing phones or that sort of thing, we have to apply for a search warrant for each individual electronic device, each specific residence, each specific vehicle. So, but in any case, it does indicate some of the great work that the officers are doing and a high volume of investigative work at the agency. So I just wanted to add that to the discussion.
Okay, has anybody got any questions for the chief? It looks like November's incidents were down. Is that typical of the time of year?
I think so. I think as we get into winter, typically incidents will
Go with the crime.
well, the crimes are still there, but you know, as far as the arrest data shows, you know, people can still be committing crimes.
Well,
No, I mean, thank you for all that you do.
thank you, chief, and I'm gonna get some rest.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a good evening.
Alright, Old Town business, boundary line adjustment with the Missisquoi Valley School District. Nobody's here.
Nobody here, I'm just gonna update you. I did meet with the superintendent of schools a week ago, and I believe it was and we've come up, initially they thought they'd like to keep that trail in there. And been able to include that in it would be more than a boundary line if we move that. That would basically be a subdivision. I think we ought to explore doing a memorandum of understanding. They have indicated to me the insurance on the school covers all of the students, all of the of both this school district as well as the visiting school district. If they're using that trail, they're covered. Then on the map that I've included, so the boundary line that it appears, they want it 25 feet from their road. Yeah, and this is the colored version, it's in red. 25 feet from the road, the edge of the road, and then it'll go up to where the batting cages are and stay that distance, whatever that would be. I was trying to decipher. It was their superintendent of building and grounds, but it's 131 feet from that point back to the boundary pin that's there in that post. So that would basically be it there. So it's kind of like a little dog leg. And then we do cover the boundary by a memorandum of understanding or an easement for the trail.
Before we go on, does that trail go through the Rao property?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah, so they need to also speak with that. So they have, if you're in agreement with this, I'll touch base with the superintendent's office, and hopefully they have contacted her very soon. We'll contact Day Engineering. It makes sense for them to use them because they're the ones that did the survey to begin with, and we get the process started. They are more than willing to pay for the recording fees and the legal fee, engineering fee that's needed. Yeah.
Now this boundary line adjustment will cover all the land that they're actually using now, right?
Yes.
With a little buffer.
Little buffer, yeah, yeah. It'll cover the road that's on now our property plus 25 feet
And
buffer
that
zone.
meets setbacks and so on and so forth.
Right, yeah. So that's what we got so far, and so I can get back to them and if there's any questions or.
Do you want, if everybody's in agreement that you're okay with this, and we go ahead and say that, make a motion that we approve subdividing it according to this.
Right, by boundary line adjustment.
I mean, boundary line adjustment according to this description.
And then to make it simpler, if you would give authorization for me to sign any of the documents needed for that.
Except a memorandum of understanding on that trail.
On the trail, yeah.
Until we've got, our next step is to try to get the meeting with Ralph.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, because we don't know what they're gonna say about the trail.
That's right.
And they knew that when we talked, that we had to get,
This is all pending the outcome of the discussion with Mr. Ralph.
right, yeah, yeah.
So, does somebody wanna make a motion? We're gonna approve this boundary line adjustment as
So moved. So moved.
No second.
all right, motion been made and seconded, any more discussion? All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Motion carried. Now we'll have the discussion on the school bus stop sign on Highgate Road.
Yeah, well, I was at the superintendent of schools office.
Not sign, just stop.
We received a letter, Earl and I did, from Chance Benedict, and then that same day, and that's concerning the school bus not going into his development located off from the Highgate Road, and the bus having to stop in the road. I read that at the last meeting, and and creates a dangerous situation. Well, that same day I also received a phone call from Mr. Chris Gilmet, who lives on Cirrus Circle, with the same concern as kids in that development.
And that's on 207.
That's again also on Route 207, the Highgate Road. And so I talked with Ms. Regenbald at the school that day on this subject. And she's working with the bus company. And I was going to check the state statutes, which I did. There's no state statute that I could find that prohibits a school bus from entering a privately maintained road. I also checked the commissioner's rules and didn't see anything in there. And the handbook on school bus drivers, no mention of that. So now naturally, none of us can force the contractor to do something they aren't going to do. But their concern was about turning the bus around. Well, both of those developments in question and all the other developments have a cul-de-sac in them large enough to turn fire apparatus around in. So, and that should be properly maintained, and that falls on the homeowners association, make sure that that's plowed and taken care of. So it's in the works. We understand the situation certainly from the standpoint of the parents and the residents of the area. Cars do fly down the Highgate Road along with most other roads, and so we're looking to resolve that. So we'll be checking in when I speak to the school superintendent about what we just talked about, the boundary line adjustment. I'll check in and see how we're coming on that end of it as well. So,
Have you heard any more from the people that sent us a notification?
No, other than that they appreciate us looking into it.
Okay, so they
Trying to
know
work
that.
on it. Oh, yes, I contacted them both and said that we're working on it, but we'll keep them apprised as we go forward.
Okay. Something beautiful to discuss with Mr. Lambert.
Nice.
Well, thank you for your time. I won't take much of it, but I wanted to, first of all, thank you for your support last year. And the handout that you have, I think, the first half of the page shows you some of our accomplishments. 4 new bridge boxes, hanging baskets that we've got to take a more critical look at this year, because a couple of them were knocked down by trucks. Planters at Merchants Row, and renovations to a couple of beds, new beds at Veterans Park, thanks to Joel and Frank Shumway, and that's looking good. We'll be doing a little more with that. Planted 9 trees on First Street, or on and near First Street, and hydrangeas. And it couldn't have been done without your support. I mean, we did have a good fundraising effort that was very, very beneficial. But your providing $3,000 last year was a huge help, and helped to get things done. In 2024, which will be the second year of our 7-year plan, we'll plant 10 street side trees, some hydrangeas. We're experimenting with those to see how they're gonna make it against the snow and ice pushed up against them, but we'll see. New beds at the town office building, the village complex, and on down through. One of the exciting things we're looking at is to work with the Swanton Public Arts Network, part of the Swanton Arts Council, to install a painted mural at the VFW green strip between the laundromat and the VFW. And that's about it. We're going to try to get more involved with young people, seeing that some of our activities might be beneficial, get them involved in some of our activities, create community. So my request, or the request of the beautification committee, is same as last year, $3,000, which we very much appreciate.
I have a question on the end of Merchant Road.
Mhm.
You know, the little corner there.
Right by that building, that,
No, that's not actually put in here,
Yeah,
that may take, some approval from the owner of
yeah,
the building, but that, I'm kinda hoping that would be possible.
yep,
Would you consider something for that area that might be more appropriate than the brush?
yeah. It would be easy to put a small, a miniature tree with some flowers, or just grass it over with some potted planter or two, something along that line. It would be very easy to do, and we will approach him to get that done.
When you do, call me, I'd like to go with you, because
Okay.
I have talked with Bill about a few things, and he's pretty reasonable and approach right.
Yeah, okay, sure,
And I think that would make a big difference. I mean, what you're proposing coming into Swan,
yeah,
is gonna be a major improvement.
yeah. Yeah, and VFW, Joel is here, but the VFW is also putting, well, you approved a
Yes.
electric sign.
Yeah.
So that whole little area could be
Yeah.
addressed.
Well, I'm one who was quite impressed with your work. I
Thank you.
remember one day I came off Spring Street, turning on the Canada. I don't know if I talked to Nicole or somebody else, but I said, who the hell planted them flowers there? And I mean, it looked really good. I mean, it was really good.
Yeah,
I mean, it just made the whole area look,
Yeah, that's what we're trying to get, a deep appreciation by citizens for where they live and where they center.
well, it worked with me.
Okay.
We wanna approve, make a motion to approve the request. It's the same as last year.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, motion been made and second to appropriate 3,000 for the Swanton Beautification Committee. All those in favor?
All right,
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Good
Thank
job.
you, Hank.
Thank you, awesome
Good
job.
job.
A pitch to recognition to the 20 volunteers that we have on our committee. They work hard,
Yeah, sure
make
did.
things happen.
Well, if we could put together, do you put together any report for the town report?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, so you should put their names in
okay,
there, of these people that volunteered for their time, so
Great.
everybody can count and see.
will do.
All right, thank you, Hank.
Thank you.
Okay, Swanton Recreation Commission, you're up next with your budget. And we had that emailed to us.
could I just make a comment?
Yep.
Excuse me, I had a chance to look the budget over today. First of all, somebody's putting a lot of work into that. I don't know where it's coming from, but it was very detailed. The question I have, I think that this rec committee is, and this rec commission and everything they do is critically important to Swanton. And you look around over the years and the kids that have been in the rec programs and sports programs, I'm not sure they'd have taken the same path out of high school if they hadn't had these programs. So, and I think we made a tremendous amount of progress, again, as I said earlier, with the location of the building itself, the exterior design, and everything else. When I looked the thing over, I had probably, and I didn't get this until,
Monday.
yeah, well, which is fine, I understand, everybody's got deadlines. And I had probably a dozen or more questions that is as much as for my learning as it would be. And what I would like to propose is that I send my whole list to Brian, and he can get it to the committee and get answers back. We could meet together if you wanted,
Sure.
between meetings. I think it would set a basis for a lot of information. The answers that we would get back, I'm sure they're all gonna be just good answers, would now begin giving us I call it an audit trail, but it would start to give us a basis going forward. And when we get our information meetings continuing with the approval, we'd have all this information to be able to share with the folks. And I think it would be very useful information. So what I would like to ask, if you would indulge me to send all of my questions to Brian, I'm sure others here probably have questions. And then we get together before the next meeting and hash it, get them to you so you'll be prepared. And I can go on, as you know, and probably we'd be here another hour and a half for the questions. And they're just legitimate,
Yeah.
I need to learn questions.
Yeah.
So,
we do have a rec board meeting coming up, so I can bring those questions to the board and we can all answer them together and get them back to you or have a discussion with you
that's fine,
after.
yeah.
That's fine. So, so our rec budget was put together, a lot of the work was Nicole and Nick. So our staff did a lot of the deep diving and then our rec board reviews it and, kind of makes changes if we think that need to be. But, basically Nicole and Nick, spend a lot of time, with these programs.
Who's Nick?
Nick is our athletic director.
Oh, gotcha, okay, thanks.
So they spend a lot of time with these numbers, so they knew exactly like what the cost is coming in, what revenue is coming in, where we have to make changes, where our expenditures need to be changed, and where we need to add things. So normally we kind of come together as a board and go line for line, but this year we kind of put the task on Nicole and Nick and said, hey, let us know what your thoughts are on this, and then bring it to the board, and we had
A
another
lot of
discussion.
detail, good job.
Yeah, so this is not typically what we present to you, because our bookkeeper had COVID. So, this is kind of just something that, a spreadsheet that Nicole and Nick put together, so we just went with this. I must say though, our bookkeeper did review it and she called me last night and there was a $5,000 error. We ended up putting the capital reserve into the revenue and the expenditure. So the bottom line number is $5,000 less. So it's a good error. So these are the updated ones, if anybody wants one. Those are the updated.
When are these made available to the public? When will this budget be made available to the public? What I was thinking is if the folks that come to these meetings or folks that watch us on the TV had this, they may have some questions and they could funnel them into Brian, just so we would have a lot more communication and better understanding.
So our meetings are always open to the public and our budget is open to anybody.
So if they had this, it would be,
Steve, it's public information right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
right now.
it's all public, and it does go in the town book, not the full budget, but it's public information, so there's no like secret.
And at any point in time, I'm always
Yeah.
available to answer questions.
Yeah. So, kind of I just wanna like touch base on the increases that we're gonna see this year. Most of them are salaries, for staffing wise, because the Notch program has pulled out its, day camp programs, not just in Swanton, but also in Richford altogether. So in order to fill those gaps in the community that they had filled, we are going to have to, hire staff, to implement those programs.
That's why it's up 17%.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, so with the increase in staff for daycare, that means we have an increase in training for the staff. And then our phone, I guess, went up a little bit, and of course, our rubbish removal, patron usage, and increase in costs for providers. So our ask last year was $123,422.77. And our ask to the town this year, anticipating that we do have a $15,000 rollover, we won't know until the end of the month when we close out our books. Where we kind of got this number from was we took what we have in our checking account and minus all our expenditures to date, for the month of December. So our ask anticipated is $152,670. So it's a 29,000-ish increase.
Which is very similar
Yeah.
to our ask in 2023, but we carried over a substantial amount of rollover from 2022. That's why the ask for 2023 was much different.
Yeah, we had a $34,000 rollover last year. And where the rollover started is COVID, because we didn't spend a lot of our money. So we just kept rolling it over and over and over, and now that money's just being spent, and,
We also didn't have a full staff.
right. And our programmings are increasing, cost of uniforms are going up, so between participation and the cost of uniforms and equipment, across the board, I think everything has increased, a little bit.
Most of that increase right now coming this year is basically because you don't have the notch funding.
Right.
Well, we don't have that program,
Right.
so.
It was free.
Well, it wasn't free, they paid for it. It was free to
Right,
us.
it was free to us, but they paid their own staffing
Yeah.
and they used our facility,
Yeah.
for free.
Yeah.
Um, and we will be a food site this year, so they will have the access to food. And we will have to charge for those weeks, but Nicole is also working on grants that will, defer the costs to the community for, those weeks that we're taking on from the notch.
We're also working with the supervisory union to, not duplicate programming, but to make sure that we're adding intentional programming so that those needs can be met in the community, as childcare during the summer months or out of school time is lacking in the area, but it is an extreme necessity for our working families.
And we also have, like, speaking of, I know that Steve brought up fundraising, so we used to do a ton of fundraising in the past, so we've kind of stepped back from that a little, but we are gonna revisit that a lot more so we can defer the cost to the taxpayers when it comes to not just our rec budget now, but also moving forward, thinking about the future of the rec department and the community space the future of the community space. So we do have, Nick and Nicole have created like a list of fundraising opportunities to kind of tap into, but they can't do that alone, so the rec board is gonna have to take on a lot of that and really deep dive into that funding piece, because I think the fundraising really offset our budget a lot in the past, so I think it's something that we really need to start to focus on a lot more. Also restructuring some of our programs, because we feel an increase of need for certain programming, and expanding on some of the programs that we have. People wanna see a little more of an increase of, like, what does Nick call it, like more of a challenging program, like
Competitive
competitive
leagues, travel
leagues. So we've heard a lot of community members, they don't wanna go outside of Chittenden County, they wanna stay here in our rec community. Obviously, we have to go outside of Chittenden County to play, but building it here so that way our kids can stay here and not move the funds outside of our community. We have seen an increase in numbers for non-residents, so with some of our programs that are offered in our communities surrounding us, so I think we'll see an increase in that, which we do charge a little more for non-residents, and that will be increased in 2024 also.
Okay, well, I got only one question, because I understand most of it, and I knew what the situation with the notch. The capital reserve, how much money do you have in that capital reserve?
I think we have like 35,000. 30,000. Well, that doesn't include the 35 or 5. We haven't moved the 5,000.
Okay, so there's 30,
35.
but it'll be 30
Yeah.
left, okay. When you're talking fundraising though, I guess it's all we're gonna discuss the budget much. There's one thing I can say right now, especially after last night. Asking the voters for a bond is almost out of the question. But we're not out of the game.
No, I know.
okay?
I've had the same
Because-
thoughts, Earl, don't
all
worry.
right. Wow, but, okay, thinking is one thing, but there needs to be some kind of body here in this town that's gonna be in charge of seeing this gets done. Cause it's gonna be a lot of work. And there's a lot, you know, there's money outside of Swanton that we might be able to get, okay? So it's not gonna be an easy job. And, you know, Steve wants to appoint a committee, and I think there is, because there are gonna be other issues too. There's gonna be how this is gonna be run in the future, especially if we get the building, can get it up. But right now, fundraising is one of the areas that needs to be concentrated on.
Yes, I agree.
And I don't know, you know, I think there are some people in the community that would be a big asset if we can get them to come forward, but there also needs to be someone from this board and someone from your board involved in it. And that's what they're gonna be working on.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think a steering committee or some sort of funding committee is essential. Because I mean, you all have your responsibilities here, we have our responsibilities at the rec, but just bringing outside sources that might have other funding avenues that we don't have access to. And we're gonna, you know, Brian and I have talked about the RFP for the grant writer. So that's pretty much completed, so there's
Yeah,
that.
we could try it on our own, but it's a very specialized effort.
Exactly.
And if we went with someone or an organization that is experienced, well-versed, they have their list and whatever, we may have to give them a share of whatever they raise, which is fine. But I think they would be much more successful than what we could be, as hard as we work to try to raise money.
Yeah.
I've been involved on the other end of the fundraising. It's a lot of work. It's sometimes it could be an 8-hour day, 3-4 days a week. Once they get organized and they're ready to fly, it comes fast. But we might want to consider bringing in an outside, a proven fundraiser. That would be help us.
Well, that's one avenue, and maybe we should explore that, at least find out what the cost is and what's out there. You've got the RFP ready to go for the grant?
Yep.
So
Should go out this
now
week.
you're gonna work on that. And that, you know, we'll see, I mean, if maybe that's a feasible and a proper way to go, because, you know, if we could raise, I'm looking at this as a $5 million, okay?
Right.
Multiply that times 25%. That gives you $1,200,250. We got $600,000 already. That ARPA money, even though some of it's been spent, but it's all been spent in that project. If we could, the best case scenario, if we could raise the rest of it, and we don't even have to ask the voters for any money, then this becomes feasible.
Oh, yeah, we feel you know, we know what's coming up.
Yeah,
And
you
it's
ain't got the
gonna-
end of it.
Well, no, I know, so believe me, it's been sitting very heavy on me too, because we're all taxpayers in this
Oh, yeah,
community.
yeah.
And although what we're presenting is something that's for the whole community but so is everything else.
Everything else.
But I get it, like, there's so much coming up right now that I feel like if we move forward too fast, it's just, everybody's in a no right now.
Yeah.
No one's gonna support anything regardless. I think everybody's just at a point where they're like, we can't afford it, we can't afford it. I get it. And I don't wanna put any more burden on this community than they already have. So I can't disagree more. We definitely are gonna brainstorm the fundraising, the grants, everything, because, I mean, we've pretty much kept our cost of our rec budget down as much as we could throughout the years. We wanna continue to do that, and anything we can do to support it, we will.
Well, as a member of this board, I really appreciate you coming in with a budget that is very not changed radically from last year. We've had some other requests that were, and that's a good thing, because we've got a lot of things up in the air until we get them nailed down. But as far as this building is concerned, I believe we can do this.
Yeah.
But it's gonna take some work,
It is.
you know?
Some work and some organization.
Yep. So, I guess if we're gonna leave here tonight.
Well, Mr. Chair, just one thing
Go
though.
ahead.
I mean, I made a suggestion. If you guys are comfortable with this budget, go ahead. and approve it. That way you can keep things going, and that's fine. You don't have to hold things up. It's up to you guys.
I don't
Well-
think you approve our budget anyway.
Well, no, no, I
We
guess
just present it to you
Yeah.
as a courtesy, but the taxpayers approve our budget.
it does get voted on as a.
Yeah, I realize that.
Yeah, so we come to you and you see it, you make suggestions where needed, and then,
No, that's
we
fine.
take them back into consideration. But the taxpayers of Swanton approve our budget.
But if we didn't give it a positive nod, it
Then
probably
the
wouldn't.
taxpayers would be like, well, if the select board doesn't approve, then why should we?
That's
So,
why
yeah.
we need, that's why we gotta be a team.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Well, it's up to you, Steve, you know,
I'm happy to answer your questions regardless. This budget is not our final budget because obviously
you don't
we
know the
still,
role.
we don't know the rollover and we haven't balanced out all our books. We still have money coming in and going out.
Go ahead and keep this moving, that's fine with me, I don't mind. If
Okay,
you wanna,
well, I wanna make sure everybody gets their questions answered or their concerns, I don't wanna leave anything out there.
I'll send mine to Brian anyway.
Yeah, and we'll answer them,
Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah.
That's fine. But I'm not gonna vote for it tonight.
Alright,
But
you
you got
want,
enough to carry though.
if everybody is comfortable with it, do somebody wanna make a motion that we approve the budget that's been presented?
I have to abstain.
I know you do.
Oh, that leaves me. Cause Steve already said he wouldn't.
He said, go ahead.
Yeah.
Nobody done nothing, right? Has anybody made a motion yet? No.
No.
So, if you're not gonna, we'll, the only other comment I got is that I think you and Brian should, you know, you got the RFP, is it ready to go out?
Yeah, should go out this week.
Okay, then I
Tomorrow.
really should do some investigating into, you know, what's available out there for help from the fundraising standpoint.
Yeah.
And bring back, you know, costs and information, and, you know, we can discuss that, and then we can decide there how to go.
Do you have questions that you wanna send to
Oh,
us?
yeah, I'll send it to you.
Okay,
Do you wanna wait?
Yeah, I was gonna send it.
Okay, alright, then we can wait on that.
One thing on the fundraising, NMC does a tremendous job,
oh, yeah.
believe me. They know
Kate
how to,
Madison,
they know how to hit you. They might they might be willing to share that. This is a real professional group,
Yeah.
this last time around.
Yeah.
So, just as a thought, yeah.
Any avenue.
Alright, thank you.
Okay.
Well, you're still talking about the last time they came and you wanted the colored
Oh, yeah.
designs, these are the colored, one's blue, one's red.
All right.
Is that yours?
No, there's two
Anybody
copies.
else
Right here,
want
hello,
some?
hi, how are you?
Blue and
Good
red.
job.
There's two of them.
And there's one in each.
No, there's two,
There's a set.
one's blue, one's
Yeah,
red.
I gave mine to Steve, so I need a copy.
Thank you for posting all this on the website too. It's been pretty,
I'll
you
put the
know,
colored ones up.
people have posted on it and, I mean, considering what's happening in our community, they're not super receptive, but,
This is not what I consider an artist.
oh, yeah, no, I know.
But it does look good.
Yeah, I like the blue one. Oh,
I like red, I'm kinda partial to red.
because you're colorblind.
No, because a red barn.
You think she's gonna
We're not
melt,
building a barn.
you think she's gonna melt
Well,
cow?
that's on a similar design, there's a lot of barns I see today that look pretty damn cool.
You think she's gonna melt cows over there, yeah, in the evening, so.
Well, we could have some agricultural piece to it.
I've been
too.
trying to work on goat yoga.
Yeah, that's big.
It is
I
huge.
used to raise goats.
Really? You're not joking?
I'm not joking.
Goat
No,
yoga.
no,
I used to raise goats.
Marry him.
So, yeah, these are the updated, there's not a huge
Alright.
difference, but there's those, and, well, thanks for having me tonight,
Can you,
and,
can you ask
Thank
the
you.
architect, though, I noticed he's calling it the Swanton Rec Facility, could he call it the Swanton Community Facility? Just so when
that's
people,
Brian.
yeah,
He's
just
communicating
let
with
him
the
know.
agricultural.
We don't wanna get anybody upset.
Architect,
Go to bed.
as bad as Earl tonight.
I think you need some sleep.
I know. Well, if I don't see you, Merry Christmas and Happy New
Merry
Year.
Christmas.
Well, I think we should hopefully get back together, on our first meeting after the first of the year,
Absolutely.
and with a report on the fundraising.
Mhm.
And what, you know, if there's something you guys wanna propose, then we can discuss it and start getting those things going.
Seems nice to see the progress, though.
Yeah.
You know, it's now coming together.
Moving
Yeah.
along.
No more veins
Getting there.
popping out of the head. That's cool.
Of being our own.
Oh, but yeah.
Right? People are talking about us in the community, entertainment.
Wow.
At least they're following what's going on.
If that's
Thank you.
what it
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good
Night.
evening.
Good night.
All right. Okay, now we're going to go on to the mass mailing report.
Well, we can do it, but we made a contact with someone who could actually do everything, print it, mail it. We just have to provide the addresses, which we're gonna look at that part of it, and then the other part of it, the mailing is most expensive because we can probably create our own postcard here. We can order the postcard materials and we can print it here, because we can use Jim's printer. And we'll buy you more ink. And then, it's just because it's gonna cost us, the mailing is 51 cents a postcard. So on 1,500 postcards, it's like $765, just for postage. But we can save printing
What we got going on right now, that's
nothing, right?
nothing.
So we can do the cards were gonna be $900, but we can probably do it
$950 at the UPS road just for the cards.
for the cards, but we can do it our own stuff, and it's,
When you looked into some of the mass mailing, companies, there's companies out there that.
That was the
that's,
one that
that's what we're waiting to hear.
he didn't email me back, but he was.
Have a good
he would
evening.
Print them, label them, stamp them, mail them.
So we're waiting to hear back.
I haven't heard.
Cause there's some that you can, there's companies that, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I have it in my office, where they'll send a postcard to anybody within the 05488 zip
Yes.
code. So just like a mass mailing, essentially, you
Oh.
just provide them the material.
But our mailing isn't gonna be a mass mailing to everybody, it's going to be to, Earl wanted to do it to residential homeowners in the town.
Yeah, and I've been thinking
Makes it
about
more
that.
expensive.
I've been thinking about that a little bit, and, you know, maybe that, I know it's more, and there are some concerns about the voter checklist, but this is gonna affect people that are even renting, because how are these landlords gonna, they can't eat that, you know?
No.
So, and it's also, you're talking about a police protection and fire protection, something that would be considered emergency things, so everybody gets affected by them. I don't know how you guys feel.
So the only, yeah, we could send it to every town registered voter, if that's what you're looking at instead.
Yeah, well, I mean, I
It's
think
gonna
we
cost us
It's
a
just
little
gonna
more,
depend
but,
what you wanted to do.
Yeah. So, but it's still not gonna be a significant amount of money.
So that would be a lot more than 1,500
Yeah,
priced
you-
out.
You're talking close to 45.
4,500 on the checklist, that many.
No, you want town only checklist, right?
That, I think that is the town only.
No,
or maybe-
the
no,
total
30.
is 4,500.
45, and I think the village might have. I would say
I think that
3,000.
But that's such a duplication, because I know in my home, there's 2 registered voters, so then my house
Yeah,
would get
you
two,
get two,
two
right.
cards.
Right, and some people
Is
have
there-
5 people living around.
Is there
Yeah.
an easy way to?
We can check and see if we can just mail it to the household
Okay,
address.
I think there is options to
Yeah.
send a mass mailing out to,
The guy that I
There's-
spoke to in New
I mean, you
Hampshire,
can
he
send a
would
mass
send
mailing to
mass
everyone
mailing,
in
but
the
I have
05.
to give an address.
Right, and 05488, but not 05488 also includes village people who aren't gonna be voting on this. So do we want it, we don't want to mail to people who aren't gonna be voting on it.
Yeah, there's a way I think they can actually, because you've got a lot of 05478 that are
Yeah,
still,
we do too.
Right.
and, because this is the same, that company in New Hampshire, the same one that the politicians have used, I've used them, okay, and they somehow get it out to the right homes.
Yeah.
The right places, even though it may be different, but
Oh, they
It's
probably
something
just
to
off the
talk
voter
about.
checklist.
they might, I don't know how they do it, so.
well, what do you guys think? You know, I mean, we can go to the households, we can go to the voter checklist, but you're saying even the voter checklist, because what you're saying is you're gonna have two voters in one house, is on the same, okay?
Well, then that's
Yeah.
a duplication of
Yeah.
expense and.
There's 5 in my house.
Yeah.
That didn't make any sense.
But there's no way of sorting out if the address on the voter check, if there's 3 addresses on the voter checklist that are the same, there's
If
no
we do
way.
it ourselves, we can eliminate that.
Yeah, but you'd
There
have
might
to,
be a way, we have to go into the reports, into the system and see what we can do, if
Yeah.
that's possible.
yeah,
I'm sure it's
if you
possible
gotta
just
do it
to
by hand, it's
But
gonna be a nightmare.
if we printed them in-house with the labels, we could eliminate duplicate.
Right, and if we printed the report by address
Maybe
only,
take
that's
some
gonna give
time.
our
We could
address
do that.
only too.
Just take out the duplicates and don't mail a card to them.
Alright. Well, it looks like we're gonna be able to get this done for what I consider a very reasonable price, but we're gonna have to think about what we wanna put on there.
Well, that was my question. What are you gonna put on there?
Well, I wanna put on that your taxes could go up, but I don't wanna just say it that way.
Well, go up for what reason? For the building, the new building?
Well, it's the proposal
Right.
that's been presented to
But
us.
that's not gonna happen this year. The vote will
No,
be this year.
I understand.
They aren't even voting, they're going to, so how are you gonna word that? That's,
Well, they do, I mean, my understanding is the village would like to know if the town is gonna do this contract for a 10-year period.
next year.
Yeah, but if we're not gonna vote on it till next year, and the village is gonna vote on it this year,
They're voting on the bond this year.
yeah,
The contract for the police, they will be the following year,
2025.
2025.
so the village is taking a tremendous risk. If the town does not vote to enter into this, contract with the village until 2025, and they've already approved and started building the building, and the village residents are gonna be stuck holding
That's the way
back.
I understood it last night, because they can't, they're not in a position to start providing that service.
I know they're not, we wouldn't pay that tax rate this year, this coming year, in 24. But the people in Swanton, in the town would have agreed to enter into this contract.
Is it
But
gonna have a
they're-
dollar amount?
Yeah, what they're
And they're
saying,
gonna put what their costs are in 2025,
well,
insurance
supposedly, that's what
insurance
we,
is gonna change, a lot of stuff's gonna change.
Well, what did we, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, that's what I'm just saying, and it's hard to project in 2
Right.
years what you're gonna pay
Yeah,
for
what-
benefits.
we can only go with the numbers they gave us.
Right, which is based on 2024 benefits, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 2024, I would assume.
Well, I think we spoke earlier about having a meeting with the town, the people from the town. Maybe we would announce that meeting with this postcard kind of thing to encourage as many people to come as possible. Our first goal would be to enlist some questions and reaction from our townspeople. You might do that by a postcard, just explaining to them what we're trying to do. We might end up with a tremendous turnout. And then we would continue on once we get the figures that are more firm.
Yeah,
That might be a good way to test it too,
yeah,
to see how many people would show up if we
Right,
send it out that way.
that would work. I
Yeah.
think. You just wanna get the people out
yeah,
and get the word out.
yeah.
That public meeting, and all
Yeah.
that stuff that goes
Now-
with it.
Meeting.
Kathy, how long,
One-sided.
did they give you a time frame? If you told them this is what we want on a postcard, can you get it out tomorrow?
I don't think they're gonna be printing tonight.
No, well, we're not gonna count, I think we gotta give this some
I'm sure we
consideration.
can find out the timeframe
So
on
the
it.
UPS guy told me if I wanted it now, it would be a month. If I waited until January, he could give it to me in a week.
Now, this place in New Hampshire.
I haven't heard back from him yet.
But they can turn around pretty quick.
Yes,
Okay, so
and they would do it all.
if we had a prepared thing to put on a postcard,
And then
After-
both of them were us designing it,
okay,
cause that costs more if they.
And that could be our information meeting, to start with that.
yeah, but we
And when
gotta,
are you thinking about
Set
the
a,
information
set a
meeting
date for that?
in January.
in January? Cause I was
Yeah.
thinking right now, mailing during the holidays, with
Yeah.
all the mail and everything,
I
it's
know.
like,
She just made that
they're
clear.
like, oh, it's a junk mail.
All right.
Yeah, I threw my mail away today, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happened, yeah.
So if we go after the first of the year, that'll give us time, sometime in January. But what I would like to see everybody do here is to think of something that you think might draw people in. You know, definitely we're gonna have a public hearing, but what else we put on there to get people to come?
So keep in
And
mind,
we've got time because this isn't gonna happen till after the first
But our goal is to get people to attend the meeting.
Yeah.
well, no, there's another meeting.
Yes, that is the goal.
Aside from here, you're gonna be a week or two before you get them, a week to mail them,
This will be meeting down in 19.
so we do another meeting.
Yeah, we do. Probably more than that.
What's that?
We'll probably have more than another meeting. Budgets.
Okay, you want me to?
Don't worry,
I mean, I'm just here looking on like say Vistaprint, they can
I
have,
found them online, they're pretty
Yeah.
cheap too.
yeah, I mean, it's for 4,000 recipients, 2,500, you provide them with a mailing list. You can choose and design your own card, and it seems like their turnaround is pretty quick. We would print, address, and mail them for you.
So come up with it, you want on the
Yeah, I
card?
think any of them would be cheaper than the UPS store.
Yeah.
They were $9.50 for 1,500.
Not even include.
Without postage, we had to stamp them.
Well, we can get this done and fairly easy and not real expensive. So everybody consider what they'd like to, and, you know, Brian, if you wanna put something together, you and Christina can work on it when you get a minute or two.
Well, I'm wondering more about the date and if this draws a big crowd, where do we want to have that held?
Well, we're gonna have to go to the village golf course.
I mean,
That
suppose
might
it's
not be
big.
large
That's
enough.
what I'm getting at.
Oh, well,
Do we get one of the schools?
yes, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe if we put it on the school, they'll think there's something really, maybe that might draw a few people right there.
I think the subject matter is gonna bring them in. I'm gonna
Yeah.
guess that we're gonna get pretty good coverage from the press after last night. That was a very productive meeting,
Yeah.
so that'll whet their appetites, and if you get something in the mail inviting them to a public meeting,
Yeah.
I think we'll see a good turnout.
So when you say postcard, what are you talking about? Something like this?
4x6.
Yeah, 4x6.
Something like that.
That's more like 3x4.
Yeah, I'm just thinking,
The quote I have is for 5.5 by 8.5.
you want something big enough so that it just doesn't disappear.
Well, you want it
6 by 9.
so they can take a minute to
Actually,
read
a
it.
little less
Exactly.
expensive.
Yeah.
You want them to pick it up and read it.
They got 3 seconds. They get that out of their mailbox, 3 seconds, boom, in the garbage you go. I'm serious.
No, you're right, you're
So
right.
it's gotta be something that
Put my
catches
face
your
on
eye.
Yeah.
That'll
Definitely,
do
it's
it.
gotta be, we get,
Fancy.
you know, and of course, the more color you add, the more expensive it's gonna get.
Right.
But
But you want them to hold on to it a little
Yeah.
longer, Brian, and say, come to this meeting and find out why your taxes could go up $2,000 next year.
I wouldn't say that.
That would bring the people?
Yeah,
You
along
do,
with bad stuff.
Well, at the end of the day, you hope it,
Less expensive than a 6 by 9.
at the end of the day, you hope it ends up on the
But that's
refrigerator.
still-
Yeah.
You know, they put it up on the refrigerator.
Yeah.
On the calendar.
Just put
On
my
the
face on it.
That's a
calendar.
decent, includes
Put my
printing,
face on it.
postage, and.
Now, if we were close to the, if we were trying to get people out to a vote, not even being neutral, out to a vote, that could trigger a campaign finance report, just so that you know. Because I see a school district here in Vermont had to file
To
them,
filter out those
because they sent it out.
addresses and really choose.
Which is not, it doesn't cost anything to do, it's just a pain in the neck to fill it out.
So let's, do the work on it, narrow it down, for our next meeting, and, we'll have, hopefully we'll even have what we want on the postcard, and who we're gonna contract it with, and have it ready to go for after the first year.
So can I make a suggestion? If you're thinking about it between now and then, and you have little ideas of a saying or something, email it to me and we can print a
Yeah.
couple examples
Yeah.
All
for you to look at.
Yeah.
Make a little-
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, if you need help, please feel free.
And then we'll have to take a look at it.
Yeah. alright, now we go on to the, town employee salary,
Yeah, well, Kathy's needing a percentage if you're gonna increase salaries. I did a little research today on the CPI, cost of living, and from from September 2022 to September 23, it was up 3.7%, but in October it's come back down to 3.2%.
What did it come back down to?
3.2. And the village, Bill told me last week that the village is increasing their salaries 3.2.
That's about the average.
3.2.
3.2.
So, you know, somewhere around the 3.2 to 3.5 maybe, I don't know. That's,
You know, when you use the CPI, it's a good indicator, but I'd rather use an average of the CPI because that shows the true movement and what's going on in the economy. So if you took the last two numbers you gave us, and if you wanted to use a three report rolling average, that's fine too. That's much more reflective of what's going on in the community rather than just one day at one shot.
Yeah.
But I think that under 4% is,
Did you say 3.7, 3.5? Is that what you're doing?
3.7 was the high in September, and it's gone down to 3.2 in October.
what's the average of those two? 3.35?
I think she's
3.4.
Question,
3.4.
3.4.
what is social security gonna change?
3 point. Was it
7,
3
isn't it?
I think it's 3.7.
Come on,
3.7?
I think it's 3.7.
okay.
They may have gone with the September. They probably went with the September figure because of the federal fiscal year.
That's been set into stone.
Yeah, the federal fiscal year being October 1st, so that's probably they went with that one. They went with the 3.7.
3.45 would be the
And
median.
what was last year's increase?
It was 8, but that
But
CPI
that was
was
different year,
really,
yeah.
yeah, it was going out. of
While we're on
control.
this, do we do annual reviews for employees?
No.
Probably supposed to, but actually, Brian, isn't the town administrator supposed to do an annual review of the employees?
Yes,
Is that in the policies?
I believe so, yes.
Right, but the town administrator is not really responsible for any town employee except for one. So, and the other thing was somewhere along the line, this board or a board dropped doing the merit raises and just went to cost of living.
Yeah.
So everybody's getting the same anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not saying it's right or wrong.
The other question I guess I got was on part of it because it factored in. What about, do you know what the increase in our insurance cost is gonna be this year, Kathy?
Not total, but it has gone up.
Did they give you a rate?
They give me a dollar amount.
Just a dollar, so you don't know what the percentage increase was for coverage?
I wanna say, well, the village uses the same one as us, so it's 11%.
Okay, because I know.
Cause we have the same plan,
I've
so
been seeing
they
budgets.
said it was 11% last night,
Okay.
so. And we have the same health plan.
What kind of effect is that gonna have on it? You probably don't have that number either.
In the budget yet.
But if it was last year, if you looked in last year's town report and multiplied it times 10%, give you a pretty damn good idea of what it's gonna be, right?
Well, we have some new people coming on too, so no.
You got new people.
Well, just one so far. No, one. Just one.
Well, what are you guys thinking? I mean, I think, you know, we do have to pay quite a bit more for benefits then, at 10%, that's gonna have an effect on the budget as it is. Social Security set in at 3.7, and that seems to be consistent with those numbers.
Yeah, we don't wanna penalize good performers because of something beyond our control like
Right.
insurance, so.
Right, I agree with that. I mean, we're probably gonna be asking a lot more work. Cause there's a lot of things going on. Well, you wanna somebody wanna make a motion on 3.7?
I'll make a motion for
Second.
3.7.
Alright, so, motion been made and seconded that we, increase across the board, right? Highway and general, everybody,
3.7.
yeah, 3.7%.
Got that, Kathy?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Employees Christmas appreciation. And I don't recall what we did last year.
Last year, instead of giving the hand, had traditionally done, we gave everybody a Visa gift card of $100. I don't know if you wanna do the same thing, but you got, 15 eligible purchases under that. It was 13 last year, it's 15 this year. So that would be 15.
That included members of the board. And I think what we did last year, we all waived our gift
Yes,
card
yeah,
and said
yeah.
spread it evenly among all the other
Yeah.
employees.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if we wanna continue with that tradition, I think it makes good sense, but,
I feel like it makes good sense as well.
And everybody appreciated it.
so let's say you take the total pot and divide it over just the employees.
It is a small token, you know, I guess when I had my own business and, you know, I would go probably more than what I should have just, but this is the town, and I don't have a problem with it. If you guys wanna stick with the Visa cards and throw in the 500 that comes from into that, so it'll actually make it a little more than 100. Yeah,
What would it round it up to, Brian?
Yeah.
If-
yeah, let's round it up.
Yeah,
If you had,
How many employees?
It was 15
15 and the 500.
and then 500.
plus 2,000 divided by 15.
Wow.
She's doing it.
1,500
So it'll be
divided by 11.
$133 a piece, right?
How much?
No, it's 15 without them.
Oh, without them.
So you take 20.
You wanna make it an even 150. Okay,
I'd make the motion. I won't even buy a turkey, will it?
a small.
So,
Steve made it,
One second.
so that's $150.
100, yeah, per employee.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion? No, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Community and economic development, I think I touched on that because of the meeting with Matt.
That's right.
Did you have, oh, wait, there is one other thing. I gotta ask you this question again, Brian, I ask it to you every time I think of it. We don't have that money yet to loan. For
No.
No.
No. And so we're rattling the cages again down there because now they're waiting for the fiscal policy. So they got those and they've had them and they haven't done anything with them. And now they're saying, well, that's how come we haven't approved your loan policy yet. Well, they never mentioned that. I said, that was over a year ago.
Do they have a copy of that loan policy?
Yes, they do.
They've
Twice
had it
I've
for
sent
how
it.
long?
A year.
Yeah.
I sent it to them twice. Oh, we'll get right on it. I don't know what's going on down there, but I'm getting really angry at them.
You only work one day a week. You only go in one day a week.
Well, because I just happened to accidentally hit the wrong button on the computer and I got to the village's minutes
Mm-hmm.
and the lady that wants to start the bakery.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And they, you know, I'm at wit's end, short of calling the governor's office or sending something to the governor and saying, look, we've done everything that we've been asked to do. What's the hold?
I think we should send that letter. Because,
Whatever
you know,
it
that's
takes.
a small business that could be successful.
Mhm.
She's got everything together, she's just looking for that one little finishing piece according to what I understood in the minutes.
Yeah.
And that's what we had designated that money for.
Yeah. That's what we were told it was supposed to be
Christmas
used.
tree down at Michael's.
So, yeah, I'll send a letter off.
Well, I'm just asking, what do
Well, I think it's,
I
I
would.
mean, you gotta knock on the doors, so let's
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, okay.
We may have other things, other folks
Need a
that come
motion?
forward, let's be ready for them.
Just
Yeah.
talk about it.
I would make a motion so that,
I'll make a motion to send a letter to the governor.
Now, is that under the Department of Commerce, Brian?
Yeah.
So what if we send it to the Secretary?
CC it, yeah.
Oh, you
To
did?
Curly. No, I will. Yeah.
CC it.
Have you sent it to her?
I will,
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the governor and CC it to her.
yeah.
And I don't know anybody else you can think of, but, I kinda like the governor.
Who seconded? I'll second it, okay.
Yeah.
Would you authorize the chair to sign it?
I don't care.
I don't know if it would be more effective or not,
Well-
what do you think?
It,
I know somebody
Could
who had a little pull in Montpelier at one point. But, oh, sorry.
well, I said I had, so. But no, it's always coming from the chair.
Yeah, no,
Nothing
that's
wrong with
fine.
that.
Alright, so
Okay.
the motion's been made
And seconded.
and seconded,
Need to amend it?
no, do you want, should we, yeah, we'll
Mr.
probably,
Savage to draft a letter for Mr. Fournier to sign.
There you go.
okay,
Yeah.
Look at that.
that'll be the motion, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you, Christina. Alright, all those in favor?
Aye.
Alright.
Alright, highway department, really not gonna report much on that tonight because we're gonna start working on that budget in earnest. There were a couple of vehicle issues, unfortunately, had another truck problem. And I believe Kevin's got it straightened out, but, and I don't think it's a major expense. Other than that, I haven't heard anything bad.
No, just that.
Yeah,
I got
just
Only
another-
that I've heard.
But,
I got another, I don't wanna say complaint, something about their turnaround coming off from Bashon Road. Somebody was saying that when they back off of Bashon Road or something like that, it's dangerous, and I brought it up last year, I guess it was like April or March or something like that. But
yeah,
You can
everybody
just
saying
talk
something about that.
talked to Kevin about it. I don't know, he didn't mention much detail, he just said, hey, he's still doing it. I guess when we got a little bit of snow there, he saw him do it again, so.
Have you heard from any, resident that?
Yeah, it was the same resident, Mr. Rogers,
The Maynard Rogers?
yeah,
Okay, Maynard Rogers Junior probably.
yes.
What, update us begin on what the complaint is,
Mm.
because I don't really remember.
He just said, when they go to plow, I guess they turn around and they back into Route 7 from Bashon.
The town does,
Yes, the
and
town.
he doesn't think they should do that.
Yeah, he said, he says when the tractor trailers come in or something like that, they shouldn't be in the middle of the road, I guess. If you want, I can reach back out to him and get a better idea of what he thinks is unsafe about
Now,
it.
you talked to Kevin about that, right?
This was like last year, I think. I had mentioned it.
No? I will be talking to him, I'll mention it to him, but I guess there's gotta be some reason why they do that, I know they have to plow, they can't,
Yeah, there's gonna
they can't push out into the
right.
Route 7.
Right.
So they probably should make the corner, I can.
Even if he has a good, I mean, if there's a legit explanation,
Yeah,
then I can go back and I can tell him.
alright, I'll mention that to Kevin and I'll have him contact you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
if I don't forget.
You'll write it down.
Okay, any other necessary business?
No.
Liquor.
Oh, liquor control.
Exit your select board meeting.
I don't forget
I have
that.
a
I make
place,
a
I have a
motion
place to
to
spend those
exit
gift
our
cards.
regular select board meeting and enter into the liquor control board.
I second that.
Alright, motion's been made to exit this meeting to go to liquor control, all those in favor?
Alright,
Aye.
Alright, so we're in liquor
So
control.
basically, it's a renewal for the Veterans of Foreign War Charles DePato Post 78 for their first and third class liquor license.
Okay,
No violation.
No violations.
no violation.
so move.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the license, all those in favor?
Alright,
Alright, motion carried. Now we can go back to our regular meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn from the liquor control board and re-enter our regular select board meeting.
A second.
Alright, motion been made to re-enter our regular meeting and seconded, all those in favor?
alright.
Aye.
Alright, so now we're down to public comment, is there any more public, yes, you had something that did you wanna say something tonight, Jim?
Yes, I did. I only want to pass out something that came through on an email in regards to this, basically that letter that I gave you last night. And this came through on an email in regards to the future of reappraisals. And there are different thoughts out there. It's coming down the pike and we gotta be thinking about it.
When do you think it'll hit us, Jim?
When the state says it has to be done.
Okay,
Which is
all right.
probably going to hit us this next year
Thank you.
to be told that. It could be 2 to 3 years out from there. They're also looking at programs to coming up with the different reappraisals deals. They're talking right now, the legislature challenged they wanted to go to a 6-year reappraisal. There's a lot of ups and downs about it, and they look at New Hampshire. I think they should be going further out and looking at other states that control appraisals, such as rolling appraisal, this type of thing, where they, if you wanna do it on a 5-year or 3-year, they take it off by sections. Tax districts maybe within a particular area, and they do it every 5 years just by walking around, knocking on the door, checking in on various conditions, upgrades, downgrades, and then maybe ask for measurements outside, and then they leave. And these are some of the factors that I don't know how it's gonna get out there for the state to even consider, but I think this business of, $150 a parcel for reappraisal over a short period of time is pretty heavy.
So, but we have a fair amount of money that.
We do now.
Would it cover reappraisal?
Yes, pretty well, just about, I
Yeah, I
think,
think we did the math,
yeah, basically pretty well. But that doesn't necessarily always include what the listers themselves has to do. We'll have to see where the state's gonna go with this.
Yeah. So right now, we not mandated to do an appraisal
Not yet.
presently, okay? But there's proposed legislation to that effect, or,
Well, we're going to probably drop down to the factor where the line is, and they're gonna ask for it, and it's probably gonna take at least 3 years to get there. To even consider it, before you've only got, maybe about 4 or 5 firms in the state of Vermont that can really do it.
so if every town's in the same boat, we're not gonna be able to get nobody to do the reappraisal.
That's right. So who knows?
Yeah.
That's where it's going. But you should know about it.
Yeah.
And you'll just see some comments in there from different ones that made comments in regards to it.
Yeah.
Especially after the governor's letter the other day,
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know,
so,
fairly shocking.
Yeah.
that's all I had.
Thank you,
Thank
Jim.
you.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay.
Do we have any other, we already went to that public comment, Jim, was you, Joel?
Real quick, cause we didn't take public comment on the beautification request for money.
Yeah.
But one thing I would ask the board members to do is, we have 4 welcome to Swanton signs. And I took pictures of 3 of them and sent them to the town and to the village. And it turns out the chamber is the one who put them up originally, cause one of them on 78 is way out in the town.
Yep.
There's one by Hannaford.
Yep.
They're in a pretty rough state.
Yeah,
And I
you know.
encourage the board, when you drive by, to take a look.
Okay.
Somebody should champion up and date those signs. I've talked with Hank about trying to do some plantings around them, but they either need to be repainted or actually something that's a little more welcoming that I see in a lot of communities than the 4 we got. Cause we've got one on Grand Ave, 78, Route 7, coming
Yeah.
from Highgate
Right.
Springs, and one by Hannaford's.
Yeah.
And to me, if I was driving into town looking at that, I'd say, come on. We talk about how welcoming we want to
Yeah.
be and everything.
Yeah.
So I just say, if we're gonna give money to SEP, which I'm a member of SEP, that's one of our committees
Yeah.
and things, but we also take a look and maybe spend a little bit of ARPA money, or we talk with the village, however we do it, because if it comes under general, then everybody's gonna pay for it anyway. But,
Weren't those sponsored by businesses years ago?
yeah, Town of Swanton,
Yeah.
Village of Swanton, the insurance agency, and there's one other that off the top of my head.
I think
can't
Neil had one.
Neil.
Neil had one.
Neil's is the one on, Highgate Springs.
Yeah.
Yeah, right up in
That's right,
Spencer.
okay, yes,
What that was they, initially the chamber put them in.
right.
And then the sponsoring was to spruce them up,
Yeah.
get them in better shape. And
So nobody, technically, nobody's really in charge of that. The chamber is,
the
but
chamber was originally, but there really isn't.
And it kinda got planted and no one really owns them and is looking at it and really, cause Adam got involved and I sent the note and Brian looked at it and it was like, Adam, and being one member of the village, he talked about it a bit too, but it's gone almost a year. And they still look pretty beat. One of them, I think they at least hung the sign up, but the one for the town of Swanton, I think, out your way.
yeah.
That would be fine underneath, it's now back up. but-
I'll check it out.
Yeah, I just encourage you folks as you drive around, and take a look, cause I think for not tons of money, we could, spruce those
Yeah,
up a little
they
bit.
need
yeah.
some
I
attention.
appreciate that comment.
I like actually to bring that to the tribal council as well. It
Okay,
would be nice to add a little native touch to that and see if maybe they can contribute something.
yeah, maybe we could do a design contest and replace the whole sign.
There's a lot of options, and you look around at what different towns have, we
Yeah.
could do a little better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, you're gonna talk to the tribal council
Yeah.
about that, and then, I don't know, if, Brian, do you wanna contact the, Chamber of Commerce and see, you
Yeah,
know, I
I
mean, not that we expect them to do anything, but if we
Yeah.
wanted to do something, would they have an issue with it?
Yeah, I'm sure that, but I'll
Wouldn't you,
contact
wouldn't you think a local business would like to have their sign under there, that they sponsored it? I mean, if we could sell the,
Right.
$200 a year, you could put your plaque there for $100 a year or something, or more.
And I just wanna make this comment, Brian, I hope if we can do something about these signs, we do it a lot faster than the state
Then the
does.
state, no, they replaced one.
They did,
They replaced one. I
Yes.
don't know what's wrong with the others.
yeah, well,
They got one replaced.
okay, upcoming events, next Wednesday, planning commission, 6:30 PM, right here at the town offices. Tuesday the 19th, it will be our next regular select board meeting, and that's 6 PM here at the town offices. Monday the 25th and Tuesday the 26th, obviously, we will be closed, both highway and these offices. The highway will work if it's snowing, so don't worry. They're like farmers, they have to work. Friday, December 29th and Monday, January 1st, we'll be closed again for the New Year holiday. And I hope to see everybody back here next meeting, and if you come back, I'll wish you Merry Christmas then. Thank you. Oh, wait, I can't adjourn the meeting myself.
No.
I just made a motion.
You did?
Yeah.
Alright, motion been made and seconded. Adjourn, all those in favor?
Alright.
Alright, alright.